Good morning. Today we are going to one of the important topics in the neurology and the commonest problem we come across in the public and in various disorders. It's polyneuritis. Other names are like peripheral neuritis, polyneuropathy, etc. So, how do you define polyneuritis? It is defined as a syndrome characterized by disturbances of the function of the peripheral nerves due to varied etiology. So now we have to must know what are the various etiology causing polyneuritis. Among the etiology, first one is the infective etiology. The diseases infective etiology are the leprosy, then diphtheria, typhoid, dysentery, AIDS and HIV infection, tetanus, viral, acute polyneuritis, measles, influenza, etc. So these are the infective causes of polyneuritis. Then second common cause is toxic and drugs. Among toxics, alcohol is the commonest. Chronic alcohol is usually a complaint of burning and tingling and numbness of the lower limbs. Arsenic, lead, and mercury, nitrofurantoin, INH, organic chlorine compound, vincristine, dapsone, chlorambucil, disulfiram, etc. These are the toxic and drugs which are causing the polyneuritis. Then most important is in our setup is the deficiency diseases. Deficiency diseases include beriberi, B12 neuropathy, pellagra, folic acid deficiency, nutritional neuropathy, pyridoxine or B6 and niacin, B7 deficiencies. Then coming to metabolic diseases, the most common and very popular disease diabetes mellitus. Diabetes mellitus invariably is associated with the polyneuritis. That's why in any diabetic patient, doctors prescribe B complex capsules along with the anti-diabetic drugs. Then pregnancy, uremia, porphyria, myxedema, gout, etc. Hepatic disorders, amyloidosis may cause polyneuritis. Then collagen and allied disorders like disseminated lupus erythematosus, polyarthritis nodosa, sarcoidosis, rheumatoid arthritis, etc. or Sjogren syndrome. Genetic and hereditary diseases like familial polyneuritis, Refsum's syndrome, the peroneal muscle dystrophy, and Friedreich's ataxia, the common causes result in polyneuritis. Malignancy, malignant or carcinomatous neuropathy may cause polyneuritis, and autonomic neuropathy may be the cause, and critical illness neuropathy in multi-organ failure. These are the common causes, etiologic factors of the polyneuritis. Coming to the clinical features, is can be under three broad headlines classified. One is sensory symptoms, two is motor symptom, three is autonomic symptom. Under the sensory symptoms, which is the usual symptom which starts earlier, patient complains of pins and needles sensation, tingling and numbness, and sometimes burning sensation first in the stocking area, then in the gloves area, ultimately involving the whole body. Lower limb is affected first, and gradually loss of touch, pain, temperature sensation may be seen, which is followed by easy traumatization, ulceration, burning, etc. Afterwards, sensory ataxia may develop. Then coming to the motor symptoms, these starts later. There may be weakness of the fingers and toes, leading to difficulty in holding the objects, weakness in the grip, and in course of time complete loss of motor power. Muscles will undergo wasting and gradually wrist drop and foot drop, clog-like deformity of hand and feet may develop. Patient is unable to walk in late stages. Coming to the autoimmune symptoms, which includes flushing of the skin, coldness of the limbs, sweating, pigmentation, difficulty in micturition, defecation, postural syncope, loss of erection of the penis, etc. may develop. So, diarrhea, constipation, and cardiac arrhythmias are the other symptoms, and even sometimes Guillain-Barré syndrome is manifested. And clinical examination, we have what we come across about higher mental functions. Usually it is normal, but may be altered due to underlying cause, like in alcoholism. So chronic alcoholics, dementia, then uremia related dementia, etc. Forgetfulness, you may come across. Cranial nerves. In some case, there may be paralyzed cranial nerves, example palatal palsy, and as in diphtheria, then oculomotor and seventh nerve palsy in acute infective polyneuritis, seventh nerve palsy in leprosy, etc. are the common examples for polyneuritis. Motor functions, here nutrition is poor and affects muscles, hands and feet may assume claw-like deformity as mentioned above. Motor power is weak and gradually lost. Wrist drop and foot drop may develop. Tone is diminished, coordinate chest is abnormal. Then reflexes, plantar and abdominal reflexes may be normal if elicitable. Deep reflexes may be brisk in the very early stages but lost in the well-developed cases. Sphincteric reflexes may show variable disturbance in some cases. Then sensory changes. In the early stages, there may be hyperesthesia, hyperalgesia, and excessive thermal sensations, but gradually all these sensations are lost. Tenderness may be elicited on squeezing the cough, which is the most important clinical sign. Vibration sense is lost. Joint sense and muscle sense are also lost. Tropic changes. There may be tropic ulcer, edema, cyanosis, pigmentation and Charcot joints. Gait. Due to foot drop, there may be high stepping or steppage gait. Patient stands on a broad base and raises the lower limb to a very high level due to foot drop, and during stepping, toes touch the ground first as if patient is crossing a brooklet cautiously. Coming to the management, of course, the first one is rest in bed is advisable. Treatment of underlying cause should be done as far as possible. Then third important is B1, B6, B12 in proper doses may be given parenterally. B-complex vitamins as a whole may also be given. Sometimes ordinary analgesic drugs are helpful to reduce the pain. To relieve stabbing pain, phenytoin, gabapentin, carbamazepine may helpful. Gabapentin and pregabalin 100 mg thrice a day or carbamazepine 100 mg twice up to 400 mg may be given. Amitriptyline 100 to 150 mg at night also better. Next step is appropriate sprinting to prevent foot drop and wrist drop may be done. Fifth, physiotherapy may also help. Steroids may be given in selected cases. For postural hypotension, elastic stockings and sleeping suits are beneficial. Neuropathic heart trouble may get benefit by the parasympathetic drugs. Impotence and diarrhea are difficult to treat. So, duloxetine 60 mg per day or venlafaxine 37.5 to 75 make it twice daily may be of help. Fludrocortisone in a higher dose also may prevent postural hypertension. Then placid neuropathic bladder may respond to bethanyl chloride 10 to 15 mg 3 to 4 times per day. Now, along with this polyneuritis, we'll cover this Wilson disease also. Wilson disease is also known as hepatolenticular degeneration. Its definition of Wilson disease: a genetically determined disease of copper metabolism resulting in degeneration of corpus striatum, cirrhosis of liver with a peculiar greenish brown corneal pigmentation. It's an autosomal recessive inherited disorder. The genetic defect is localized to chromosome 13. Over 200 mutations of Wilson's disease gene have been identified. In this disorder, excessive amount of copper is absorbed from small intestine, but decreased excretion of the metal from the liver results in the deposition of this metal in the brain, liver, kidney, and cornea. What are the clinical features? This onset is insidious, age is young. The earliest symptom includes coriform movement of the hand and face together with a characteristic wing beating, flapping tremor which is increased on voluntary movement. Akinetic rigid syndrome with Parkinsonian rigidity is also seen. A masked face is present. No sensory change is seen. Plantar reflex is flexor. Patient may be emotionally unstable and gradually demented. In this case, features of cirrhosis of liver are present. A characteristic and diagnostic feature is golden brown pigmentation in the margin of the cornea, most marked at the superior and inferior poles of the cornea, at the Descemet's membrane, which can be seen in daylight but best seen with the help of the slit lamp. This is called Kayser-Fleischer ring, Kayser-Fleischer ring. The disease may be seen in several members of the family and prognosis is invariably fatal. Blood examination shows a low serum copper, less than 9 microgram percent, and ceruloplasmin, less than 20 microgram per level. Urine shows high amount of copper, more than 100 microgram in 24 hours urine, and alpha amino acids. Liver biopsy shows elevated copper concentration, that is more than 100 mg per gram of dry liver. Features of acute or chronic hepatitis or cirrhosis may be present. MRI of brain shows increased amount of copper in the basal ganglia of the brain. So coming to the treatment, the first drug is dimercaprol, B capital A capital L capital BAL. Apparently helps in elimination of copper. The usual dose is 2.5 mg per kg twice daily for 10 to 12 days to be repeated after every month. Second drug of choice is D-penicillamine, is the drug of choice in a dose of 1.5 to 2 gram per day. It helps in chelating copper. Pyridoxine 50 milligram per week should be added as penicillamine is an anti-metabolite of pyridoxine. Treatment should be continued indefinitely. Third, calcium EDTA, that is called Vercine, may also be used. Fourth, tri-N10A 250 to 500 milligram thrice a day is also helps in chelating copper or zinc acetate. 50 milligram thrice daily is also helpful. It helps in reducing copper absorption. Next step, fifth, diet. Legumes, shellfish, organ foods are avoided as they contain high amount of copper, shellfish and organ foods. Then 6, hepatic transplantation is considered in the presence of fulminant hepatitis or cirrhosis liver in end stage. 7. All family members should be screened. Yes, thank you.